Good morning, everybody. I have a word in my heart that I want to share with you this morning, and it's called the more excellent way. And I want to read to you from 1 Corinthians, a portion from chapter 12 and a portion from chapter 13. And Paul had just been expounding on the gifts of the Spirit, and you can also call them the manifestations of the Spirit of God. And in verse 30, he says, "Do all have gifts of healings? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But earnestly desire the best gifts, and yet I'll show you a more excellent way." And this is, I believe, the way that God wants us to walk in, is the more excellent way of doing things. Because when we begin to walk in the more excellent way of doing things, I believe there will be a natural manifestation of the Spirit. And in that manifestation, the power of God will flow by way of the gifts that He brings to each and every person. And he says here in chapter 13, and I'll read the first 3 verses, "Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become as sounding brass or a clanging cymbal." So he speaks about our speech and the eloquence of what we can speak, but if we don't have love, it profits us nothing. "And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burnt, but have not love, it profits me nothing." And yeah, Paul, he brings out these various strengths that are within, a human being or in a believer. And he says, but if you don't have love, it's not the excellent way. It's not the way of God. And therefore, God wants us to embrace love. He wants us to embrace, the ways of the kingdom. In Luke chapter 17, Jesus speaks about offense coming to his disciples. And he says, when someone offends you or persecutes you, forgive them. And if they come and ask you for forgiveness, you forgive them up to 7 times a day. Other times say 70 times 7. And their response was this: "Lord, increase our faith." And the reason being is because they'd been brought up in a way of the Mosaic law, which spoke of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, the way of revenge. And Jesus says there's a more excellent way of forgiving, of loving. And in Matthew chapter 5, from verse 43 onwards, you read about Jesus again saying, "Love and bless your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father which is in heaven." And this is the way God wants us to go. And therefore we ought to pray and call upon the name of the Lord and say, "Lord, help me to rise to the more excellent way of doing things, that there may be a greater manifestation of your Spirit in my life." So I bless you with this thought this morning, and I pray that the Lord will increase in your life, that the world may see the light of God in you. God bless you today.